Yo!
Welcome to the Bible Study Girl podcast. This is Sarita, and the first sound you heard was my brother trying to spice up his introduction. He is the executive producer of this podcast. Oh, did I say I'm Sarita? But you probably know me as Bible Study Girl. He threw me off with his yo. And so the yo was from the executive producer of this podcast, Bible Study Brother.
What up, people? It is I, Bible Study Brother, but I'm also known as Icarus Gray over at Gray Area Anime, and this is the most wonderful podcast of your day. Go and listen to my new. Well, it's not new, but go listen to my song. Go listen to my song. They Say on all the streaming platforms. Get your hate out of here. We glad to be back.
We are glad to be back. I wasn't gonna hate on you, brother, but I was gonna say you've been saying it's new for it's not new. You've been saying
it's new to
if you haven't listened to it before, it's new to you. So go listen to They Say, guys. Welcome again to the Bible Study Girl podcast. We are so glad you guys decided to stroll on down. We are continuing to be in the midst of our blog recap series, and today is a very special treat. Today we're going to talk about the very first sermon recap that was ever published on Bible Study Girl. I was wondering when my music was going to fade. I was like, it's really bumping today.
Well, normally you get to this part and then I kind of start, because you tell people what we do, and then
oh, yeah. Okay. I got you. And so in the blog recap, what we do is I start off and I give Bible Study Brother the honor of letting me know what he thought when he read the blog, what feelings it evoked in him, any just fresh thoughts that come to mind when he read the blog. And then I'll let you guys know how I felt at the time that the blog was published, and maybe if those thoughts and feelings have changed. Like I said, this is the very first sermon recap that I ever did on the blog. It's over 3 years ago at this point. But the thing that is so special about this sermon recap is that at this time, it wasn't even called a sermon recap. I just was recapping the sermon. So you guys are in for a special treat. The title of this sermon recap is I Went Out Full. If you are not familiar, you can head over to BibleStudyGirl.com. You can type on the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner of the screen and type in the words I went out full. That will pull the blog up immediately for you. I always give that disclaimer, that little hint, that little tip to people, because there are hundreds of blogs on BibleStudyGirl.com, and it would take you a while to find it. There are several different ways you can find blogs. So when I say the sermon recap series, there's you can go look through categories, and you can specifically just look up all the sermon recaps if you want. However, I will give you a little note. This is the first sermon recap, and I'm going to tell y'all, it's probably not categorized under sermon recap because it is the very first one. Maybe by the time you guys are listening, I will have corrected that. But that's just another fun hint and tip, and another way that you can explore the website without having to read all the blogs. It's divided into categories. So for instance, like in the month of November, we have Give Roses. That's Give Roses, and we say nice things, and we say the things that we're thankful for. So if you are just wanting to read things that we're thankful for, that different people have been thankful for over the years, you can go to the Give Roses category. If you want to read everything that Bible Study Brother ever wrote for the blog, you can go to Bible Study Brothers category. If you want to see what Bible Study Mama wrote, you just go to her category. So there are lots of different fun ways to explore the website. So you guys can have at it. I just wanted to give you some handy dandy helpful tips. But today, back to the blog recap, we are talking about the sermon I Went Out Full. And let me tell you, even just reading the sermon recap, I get like goosebumps because it was so good to me, but it might not be good to you. Brother, what did you think?
So what I thought is there was another sermon that somebody had preached on Naomi in her situation. And I'm going to read the first time we're really doing this, but I'm going to read an excerpt from the blog to kind of illustrate the story, just so I can talk about it without having to like have too much going on. So
I got it.
Naomi is a woman from Bethlehem. She has a husband and two sons. I'm not trying them names right now.
Elimelech and
The sons, we ain't got to. Anyway.
okay.
Bethlehem begins to experience a famine. Elimelech decides that the family should move to the country of Moab when the famine begins in Bethlehem. The family sets up residence in Moab. Then Naomi's husband dies, and the boys grew up. They marry Moabite women, and then both of her sons die. And because of how everything has happened at the time, Ruth does not have, she does not have any kids. So literally all she has left from leaving Bethlehem currently is her daughter-in-law. After, leaving in the middle of a famine, and she talks about leaving full. Two things I always take from this, three. One is Naomi was honest about how she was feeling and talking to God about how she was feeling, and talking about how she felt bitter, how she felt, empty in terms of the things she was going. She was very honest and earnest about her feelings, which says, again, our God is not a God who makes you feel like you cannot talk to him about your trials and transgressions. It's not like, well, you just got to deal with it. That's not who he is or how he presents himself. Two, Ruth's decision to go with her mother-in-law. Given that she was a Moabite woman, she could have just went back, could have stayed in Moab and went back and stayed under Moabite traditions. She did not. She is now following Jewish traditions, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah, she's following Jewish traditions. Like, she's following the Lord is pretty much the important part of that. Not what specific part of where she's following, but she's following the Lord. Like, leaving your entire country, the place where you grew up, following God. That's part two. The third part that is always inspiring to me is while she felt empty and she was full in the middle of a famine, not only was she full in the middle of a famine, then when she comes back feeling empty, he restores her. Like, through her daughter-in-law, like, everything that she has is restored and then some. Because of still having the faith, because of a connection and an intimacy and with the Lord and talking with him earnestly, truthfully, in a way of giving the burdens, in the way of giving the anger and those things that are not of God to God, so he can fill you up with love, goodness, and his direction. Very often, it is very easy. We talk about our year before last at this point, 2021. I have to start saying 2021 at this point.
Right. 2 years ago.
God, it has literally been 2 years ago at this point.
Literally 2.
So 2 years ago at this point, like, that to me was the moment where where you start to understand Naomi, you start to understand Job, you start to understand the trials and tribulations that go on in the middle of grief and loss. Like, the fact is, if a lot of us just stay bitter, we go to a church, that didn't respect us, our original design or whatever, and we just stay bitter. We go off to where, like, they bitter too. They just don't make you accountable for getting out of your bitterness. They don't make you accountable for changing your feelings. That ain't saying you gotta, like, go and, go back to a church that wasn't good for you. But at some point you gotta forgive them folks and forgive yourself for what you believed from what happened with them. Right. Because you choose to believe it. You choose, you choose to believe God through a person that is fallible and not seek your own relationships and all this other stuff. So the thing of coming to God with all of our problems, like some things that we don't understand, is so prevalent, and what I get every time I hear about her. And the majority of the time, what I hear about this story is people always talking about, ooh, I'm waiting on my Boaz. I'm waiting on, right. That's all you hear. not understanding what Ruth did, not only what Ruth did, but how pivotal Naomi's faith was. Because a lot of, I'm pretty sure, especially given the social dynamics and social things that go on within the families during those time periods, Ruth would have spent a lot of time with Naomi, in terms of if they were doing stuff while her sons and her husband were out. And through that, she saw the light of what Naomi was and followed there and stayed close to that because of how full her heart was to those traditions and staying close to God because of what her relationship with God was from seeing Naomi as an example. And we just have to be way more intentional about understanding how we can, about talking to God and what we can bring to God. Like, he's not somebody who's like, oh, can't talk to me about that. Like, want you to feel like that. It's people who make it seem like you can't talk to him about your identity, your like sexual orientation, your addictions. Like, nothing in the Bible says don't take this to God. Like, it makes you also understand, like, there's nothing you can hide from him in the first place, so why not talk to him about it?
Right. I think that probably comes though from, position of we need to honor and respect him. And, in our culture, it's disrespectful to question your parents. Um, you just do it because they said so and you don't question. So I think a lot of that is probably cultural, the feeling that you can't express your feelings or emotions. And I think that is something that that's something I've had to shake and learn and grow into and know, hey, God is big enough for your questions. He may not provide you the answer that you want, but talk to him about it. I mean, who else can answer it? Who else can fix it for you? Nobody. So that's definitely why you should have open and honest communication with him. And like you said, what's the point of lying? He know how you really feel about something. Um, so yeah, sorry I interrupted you.
Nah, you're fine. That's I was at the end because I just wanted to say that it's like restoration is real. Talking to God about everything that you're going through is real. We have to. I'm not going to allow the distraction of it. It's just like people make you feel like there are only certain things that you can bring to him. There's only certain things you can bring to them. And honestly, that's going to be a truth no matter who it is you think is the most accepting in the world. Like, but God is the one who's going to accept everything that is you. And as long as you walk with him, it's going to help manifest and change you to who you would like to be.
And I'm going to say this. This was my first sermon recap. The message was so good that Sunday. I was like, girl, you can't keep this to yourself. I struggled for several different reasons because I take notes during church, and I think I've discussed that before. I do take notes during church. I started taking notes during church for sermons. Probably, I have a book here. I can look. I think I started back in 2005. I'm looking at it. October 2005, I started taking notes for sermons. So I would um, write the date, where I was when I heard the sermon, and who the sermon and the title and like came from. And I started doing that because I was going to church, but I felt like I wasn't retaining that information from week to week. I would go to church, almost get like a high, like a feel good. This is going to get me through the week. But I wasn't really retaining it, and I wasn't getting the information in a practical way for me to take away and really do something to change my life. And so I thought to myself, when you take notes when you go to school, church is school, take notes, see if you can pick out those nuggets that you can work on during the week so that when you come back next Sunday, maybe you'll be a little bit better, a little bit closer to being what you need to be. So started taking notes way back in 2005. And also I started taking notes because I felt like it would help me really focus on the sermon. Because when you're in church, it's easy to get distracted. The babies are crying. You're whispering to your cousin, like, did you hear that? Did you see that? You're asking for candy. Yeah, it's a lot going on. And so I started taking notes. Another reason, like I said, was a reason to like ground myself and really like, no, this is important. Like, you here to get the information you need to be able to walk it through in this life. You don't need to just get this high on Sunday. You need to have some nuggets that you can, you know, go back through and read. I thought, honestly, it become a habit by the time that I graduated from college. It was a habit. By the time I graduated grad school, it was a habit. So it became part of my Sunday routine would be to take notes. And also, this is back when the Bible wasn't on the phone. And so I don't know what you call it, but it's like a carrier. I guess it's called a carrier. I have a carrier for my Bible. And so I could slip the notebook in the front of that carrier. So it was super heavy. Mm-hmm. Big Bible, big notebook. But I would take it every Sunday, write the notes. I would take it to Bible study on Wednesday night so I could write notes. I need these little nuggets, these little helpful things. So fast forward all the way to 2019 when I write this first sermon recap. I'm taking notes. I've advanced. The notebook's the thing of the past because I got this handy dandy phone and I am ready. And I have the Bible app so I can highlight these passages of scripture and then take my notes on my phone. Woo! Yeah, baby, I'm advanced.
You and Bible study sister-in-law are the same person. Like I don't know. Like me and notes don't really like. I've never been that type of person, type of sermon watcher. Like it's normally like it just plays out so often in my thoughts. Same thing like with reading this, like immediately just another sermon that like stuck with me, combined with this, and I don't know if that's just me specifically.
I think we all learn differently. We're all different learners. We all do things differently to help us retain information. Here's the thing though. Of course, I don't remember every single sermon that's in this book. I'm not going to. There's no way I could retain all of that information, but I love that I have almost like a handy dandy guidebook that I can like flip through. And then a sermon that was preached over 18 years ago at this point is still something that can minister to me today. We talked about that in the previous episode. I think about how stuff hits you differently. And so it may not work for other people, but it definitely works for me. I'm thankful that I have this treasure trove that I can go back through because I'm telling you, I opened up page 1 October 9th, 2005 and was like, what you say? And he said, what? And then they went to where? And why is this important? And like, they were just helpful reminders. So fast forward to October 2019, when I'm taking notes from this sermon. And it was so good to me. Like I said, like even reading the blog of the sermon. And I highly recommend that you go over to BibleStudyGirl.com and read I Went Out Full because there's a very good outline of the sermon and the practical points that I took away from the sermon. But even now reading it, I get goosebumps because I remember the feel of that I got when I was sitting in the sanctuary listening to this sermon. I hadn't been
sanctuary.
In the sanctuary. I haven't been a member of St. Luke that long. I don't think at this point. Maybe 2 years at this point. Child, I don't know. Anyways.
Okay.
I'm talking about at the time that I published this. I had maybe been a member for 2 years.
Ma'am, I know I got that. What is long to you? Like 2 years ain't long to you? Church years, that's short.
Well, I'm going to say it's not that long because I was a member of all my other churches for a long time, like for most of my life.
Listen, man.
So
Listen, no. See, you doing it like it's so weird. Like you been there a while, champ. Like 2 years
I have
is
now at this point,
no.
but
I'm
to me,
saying two
here's
years.
the thing. Let me say this. When you join a church where people have been members all of their lives, 2 years is nothing.
But that's comparison. Like you been there a minute, fam. And listen, that's all I'm saying. Like when you got the tangential gray, as TJ calls me sometimes. We ain't got to go all the way in this tangent, but I'm just saying 2 years is a significant amount of time. Y'all got to stop. Like that is a weird thing. Like I'm like 365 times 2 ain't that long. Like
You know
or even
what?
if you
I'm
do
gonna
it
say
like
this.
it's still
2 years,
104
2 years.
Sundays with maybe
Okay,
like what, however many taken off.
that is a long time, but I would say 2 years of writing blogs. Now that's a long time.
Fam, get out of here. Get out of here. Finish your point, girl. No, I'm done with you.
So, anyways, what I was going to say before you cut me off is that, and it also, you are right, 2 years is a long time because every Sunday when I say my pastor don't miss, he don't miss. And so, for me to get this sermon 2 years in the game, and it challenged me. I think because I was struggling in so many different areas of my life. And you talked about bitterness. I was really dealing with bitterness, at this point. Like, stuff just does not work out for me. I feel like I'm always getting attacked. Like, why does it not work out for me? And then to get a sermon, listening to Naomi talk about and express to God her frustrations, her feelings of it just doesn't work out for me. And why is this not working out for me? And for my pastor to bring up the point that Naomi says when she's talking, well, that Naomi and her husband and sons, they were experiencing a famine. That is the reason they left their home country. But the whole point is Naomi is talking to God, and she brings up the fact that when she left their home country, she was full. And so my pastor brings up the point, wait a minute, I thought the reason you left the country that you were in is because there was a famine. I was able to keep you full. Naomi was bitter about everything she lost after she left. But my pastor really emphasized the point that, baby, God was keeping you in the midst of a famine. You were full. So, yes, you have lost. Yes, you have experienced traumatic things. Life hasn't been fair. But I also want you to remember that even in times when things aren't perfect and they're not going the way you think that they should go, baby, he'll keep you full. And I think that was the thing that was just so powerful for me. And here I am all these years later. I wouldn't say that I'm not in a season of bitterness. I can't say that with confidence and authority. But I need these reminders that even in times when life doesn't seem well, uh, and even when times that things aren't well, not even just seeming well, when things aren't well, that God has been a provider for me. I look at 2021 when we lost all of those family members back to back to back. And I think about my Naomi season in regards to that, my bitterness, my anger, my depression, my sadness. And God kept me through that. Like, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't pleasant. And there were a lot of times, I think I was the opposite of Naomi because I didn't even want to talk to him. It wasn't nothing for us to discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, you did what you did. It is what it is. What I'm gonna do about it? We don't need to talk. But even in that, God kept me. And so I'm thankful for that. So I am thankful that I have the sermon recaps just to remind me, because like I said, I'm not currently in a place of bitterness or just anger, but just to have those reminders that when life does.
Oh no! When life does what? Because it cut you off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. When life does hit those points, that I serve a God that's able to keep me, and not just keep me, but keep me full, baby. Not just a little bit, but keep me full. So it was a delight, a pleasure, a thrill to be able to read this sermon recap, man. One thing I am always.
Yep, it caught you again. Caught you like
Yeah.
twice. I can hear you though, but I'll cut in just for a second while your internet, I don't know what it's doing today, child. Uh, but I thought about that, and there was so many. Forgiveness is a rough road as I continuously tackle it. Like when I'm writing those what is forgiveness things, and I got 3 of them on on the site. Like each
Do
one
you?
of them, yeah, I got what is forgiveness. When I did the sermon, I have what is forgiveness part 1, part 2.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Or I think you did a sermon recap, maybe. I feel like I did it, but I don't know.
No, your sermon is on BibleStudyGirl.com. What is forgiveness? The sermon is up for people to listen. You can access that either by going to the Bible Study Brother category or just typing in what is forgiveness and listen that
Sermon.
way.
But so I was thinking about that in a lot of different ways about the bitterness, because I think about like past things and working through this the freedom workbook, which I'm gonna buy you one and send it to you, just so you know. But working through forgiveness and
Is
like
that my early Valentine's Day present?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
sure. But
Because me and my cousin used to celebrate Valentine's Day together, but she's
hey.
gone on to
You
glory.
you're doing
So
you hitting
I,
me. Like let's
when we talk about bitterness, just being honest, she died in January. So that first February, Valentine's Day was real sad, bro. But go ahead.
I was
But
thinking about
also it
like
was sad because Uncle Chauncey died that day. But go ahead, Joe.
we gonna
Okay,
fight.
go ahead. Say what you say.
Okay, I was just gonna say so. It's like so I was been thinking about different past stuff and bitterness about different things, like what we talked about yesterday, and the fact of how I manifested a bitterness of mentorship and things of that nature, or at the time when it initially inseminated, or the bitterness about our daddy issues and all of that other stuff. My bitterness about how our triangle relationship went in different aspects of like giving that stuff to God, and finally like kind of forgiving different aspects of lies that I chose to believe, and how you kind of have to work through that. Because I was thinking about the other day, like there was a bitterness in me for a very long time about, like I spent a lot of time by myself. By the time, like my mom was out working for us, like my father was working. Um, my sister was out living a teenage life,
I
it
was
was,
being a teenager, man. I had wheels. I had a
yeah.
boyfriend. I was in love. It was a whole thing.
And then, by the time I'm going into my teenage years, she's in college. So I'm really, like I might go out with my friends every now and again, but well, more often than not. But like there was so much time where it was just me and the TV. It was me and the computer, or, me and my thoughts. And for a while, like I know I was big bitter on that. Because you feel alone, especially like if you keep looking for somebody to come and save you from the famine of connection. I'm over here, or the famine of jealousy. Like I'm over here jealous of my sister with her friends going on cruises and doing stuff that I want to do with my guy group. Like I want to go out and let's go not do typical guy stuff. Like let's do fun guy stuff. Like, or fun for me. Like fun for me is like let's go not maybe not just go to a basketball game, but we can go to a museum or something that we like, We can go eat something that ain't, beer and chicken and like we ain't got to go to a
But
strip
I love
club.
chicken.
You don't like beer, so moving on.
Oh, this
I'm
is
so
about, but this is about you and God time. It's
yeah,
not about what I
I was
love.
like,
Go
no.
ahead.
Like because I'm a different kind of dude, like just go and play games and do stuff that's like, kind of uplifting in a positive space, not in this feeding machismo stuff. And I was bitter about that for a while before kind of like getting to this stage in my life in these past, I want to say 5-10 years, maybe in that range of kind of just being happy about like who I am and knowing that the things that I want are coming. There's a lot of things that are opening those doors to that, and to continue walking forward with the expectation that God is fulfilling those things. Moving as He guides me, not by as people's feelings, emotions, thoughts, and everything else guides me, because I know a lot of how tricky that is. And also like dealing with my bitterness about that. Like it's not that sometimes I don't think just being honest with y'all, that like my sister don't have a good idea on something, or her mama trying to tell me something. But sometimes because of the highly critical way in which we do those things, it's very hard to listen because it
I
ain't
get
making
that.
me feel encouraged to do it. It's making me more feel like it makes, to bring back the last podcast, it makes me feel not qualified to do it, because now I feel like I'm dumb. And now I feel like it's not the choice that I'm making, but I'm making a choice. I'm making your choice, not my choice. I'm not
I get
even
that.
currently making God's choice, because I'm just making this frustrated. Well, if it appeases you and gets you to stop criticizing me in such a way of like this standard that seems unreachable and everything else, then I'm doing it. But being delivered from that aspect and still trying to like also make decisions that stand on whatever, working with people and understanding that like, anyway, just doing all of these different things and kind of learning more and being one with God, to where the bitterness can kind of start leaving, because the root of all of it is, like I said, a lie. And like, so what is the truth of the situation? Like when Naomi and everything else is, she knew God never left her. She knew that, which is why she was able to have the rough and tough conversations with God, because I know you're there. I know you hear me, and I know
Can
you'll
I ask
answer
you a
me.
question?
Hmm.
Do you often have rough and tough conversations with God?
I do. It's, the bigger portion that I'm working on towards now is listening back and making
Right.
sure that I'm like
Really
listening,
hearing. Yeah.
and not just like giving, but all the time, like I ask the questions. I've always asked the questions. For a while, I used to kind of defer it in the
Mhm.
way of like, well, your will be done, your will be done, instead of, hey, I'm having some trouble with this. Like this kind of bothers me. I don't know what's going on. Because that was the only method I knew. But then, you're stuffing grief in a place. You're burdening yourself when you just compartmentalize to thinking, I can't say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey,
Right.
I want to pray for them, but I know I'm struggling with like somebody, like, or even like the things of, they're not doing what I think you have for them, Lord. Am I out of line? Asking Him, am I out of line? Like, what is it that I need to pray for these people that I think are not living the life that you would have them to lead? Am I doing that? Like, so when I'm praying for people, how do you want me to pray for people? Am I praying for me? Am I praying for me to understand? Because I want to be in a better position. I don't want to be critical of people. I don't want to
Right.
be so overly critical of people that I'm not praying for goodness within them, that I'm praying for their relationship with you and my relationship with you to get better. Like, I don't want to remain in bitterness, because I'm like, bro, it's plain as day to me, by my logic, that you should do this. Like, what sense does it make? Like, Ruth, why are you here? Oh, sorry, y'all. Ruth, why
I
are you
read
here?
his lips when that dropped. He didn't say it out loud though. So
Listen, I'm good. God did that. God took. I promise you, he probably took my voice right out. Because I
yeah,
feel
he
like
took
I
your
said
voice out. So I was like, I see it on his lips, but I didn't hear
it. Which funny story.
it.
My sister has made fun of me before because at random times I will auto censor myself. It's like I'll be saying, whatever happened, like I might stub my toe or something makes me mad, and I'm like, bleep, bleep. And she's like, why? Why did you just censor yourself like that? I'm like, I just do. I'm trying to be better. Funny
Trying to be better because we can spiral down a season of
because
cursing.
Charmaine experienced that the other day, and I said, I cannot help myself. I got my hands pinched in a cart or whatever, and I could have been bitter about it. But I just said, but I just said some choice censored words.
Like I said earlier, guys, we definitely do want to create community. We want this to be a safe place for people to feel like they can share their stories, share their lives, share their testimonies. Are there any situations that have left you bitter? Have you started to maybe not think on the goodness of God, but think on the bad things that have happened to you? Are you living in that place? Are you dwelling in that place? Man, I was there, been there, stayed there. And it's not a good place to be. So I'm always willing to talk to people. Can I tell you, I'm always willing to talk to people. I'm always willing to be a listening ear. I think that is one of my gifts. I'm a great listener. And if you want somebody to listen to you and listen to what you got going on, I'm here for you.
Just know she is equipped with the I don't mean no harm. She just don't say I don't mean no harm. Anyway, but if you
let me tell y'all, I'm gonna say this. He said that because here's the thing. And I've said this to him before. Listen, bro, you have the option. You want me to always just be like, yeah, that's right. You're right. Everything's right. Everything's fine. And you want me to be real with you. And also, I feel like I spoke
Pink
the truth
Panther
in
on
love.
the shoulder.
What I feel like I spoke the truth in love. I wasn't even, and I was like, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm just gonna speak for me. Didn't I tell you that?
You did.
I was like, I'm not gonna speak for nobody else. I'm gonna speak for me. I'm gonna tell you what I think. And I know I'm saying all this to say, I promise. He swears I'm so abrasive. I am not. But I will tell you something. He said I'm lying. I'm not.
Listen.
Here's the thing.
Hold on, wait.
Here's the thing. No, let me say this.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this, and then a hit dog will holler.
Oh my God! Listen, the people. This let me tell y'all something. Let me
say this to you. No, let me say this, and then I'm gonna let you talk. Because you been talking. I'm gonna say this. Okay, so my therapist challenged me to use my friend to help me in one of the areas of my life I'm struggling with. When she does what I asked her to do, it pisses me off. Like, it don't make me feel good. I'm not happy. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get off this phone. So I don't like it. It's not comfortable. But what she said to me was true. I could tell you all the reasons why what she said, like, that was not even necessary. And the thing is, she don't be hollering at me. She be like, can I say something? And I'll be like, yeah. But even though I really want to be like, no, she'd be like,
okay,
I want
so
you to.
I'm cutting you off only because here's what I'm cutting you off. So that's not what I'm talking about. I do understand that. Here's the thing with Bible study, BSG, that she does not understand. Her words, whether you telling the truth or telling the truth you believe, because there are two different things.
Those are two different things.
That your knife cut the same. Like, it cut the same when it's the truth and the hurt dog is gonna holler, and it cut when this is the truth that I believe, whether you believe it or not, and it's the same knife at times. And I think, like, what I be thinking sometimes that is oblivious to, like, that I see more on myself. I'll say this, instead of just always making it seem like I don't have these things. I notice them because I do them, because inherently it is a learned trait between us, is right or wrong, whether the hurt dog gonna holler or not, I got the knife. There's power. The power of life or death is in the tongue. It's not to say that everything is gonna feel great for sure, but on either end, they kind of can end up feeling the same.
It
On
does, no matter, even
sometimes,
if it's
yeah,
delivered
yeah.
nicely, or like I said, my friend, she don't curse me. She's not condescending. Can can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah,
Okay. She just be like, can you see it this way? Or can you tell me why you want to do it this way? And it annoys me. Like it annoys me even it annoys me like even if she had hollered at me, just because I know that's the area of life I do need refining in, it hurts me every time. My prayer is that as time goes on, it won't hurt as much and it won't feel as bad, but in two ways.
that's always something we gotta kind of learn. But I mean, that's why we understand that there are blog posts every day, so we can walk through this together at BibleStudyGirl.com. If you want to hit us up on the socials, then go to Bible Study Girl, the number 2 on Twitter, _ Bible Study Girl on Instagram. The Bible Study Girl Facebook page is amazing. Thank you guys for all of your communication and interactions with us. It has been a blessing. Thank you for going and subscribing to the YouTube channel, which, because of you guys by now, we have our handle. So now you can just go to youtube.com/Bible Study Girl. I'm claiming it. This is, boy, y'all know how we're recording these things now. I'm claiming this.
Well, they really have no idea how we're recording them, but
By now they will.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. Because there's like, we're talking about this YouTube channel and they don't have this visual because we were not prepared to give this visual to them. So there's another visual.
That
that's
is correct
coming.
because I got my bonnet on and I'm real
Yeah.
chill.
But that's what I was saying. Like, they'll start to know once after 100.
Yeah, after we are at 102.
So, but anyway, thank you guys. Oh yeah, our email is BibleStudyGirl2019 @gmail.com. The year it all started, the year that will be one of the most pivotal things I think of the BSG career. Man, be on the lookout for the BSG Bible study. And like, just continue with us on this growth journey, like, because it's going to grow to a lot of different things, because we want to be in service. We want to be in service to you guys. And I think I said this on 99 or like New Year's expectations. Like, I want to be able to,
that would be 98 New Year's.
98. 98.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be out here, doing, these conferences with you guys, performing for you guys, performing music that is positive and uplifting, that you like, oh, it's got a nice rock to it. I ain't got to go to the club for like that thump or that feeling, that good rappity rap hippity hop hop hop, because wallowing in sin don't preach, y'all, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching. But also, I just want whatever the Lord has for us. I don't have a specific, since He ain't gave us the same vision in Jesus'
The the
name.
the the
But,
the, the
but we
fairy
preach.
dust was going. The fairy dust
I want the
was
fairy
going.
dust. Come on, bring it. I just had to, because you be throwing stuff and I'll be like, he think I'm not finna hit this ball he just threw. I'm hitting it. We just want whatever the Lord wants for us, guys. We preach. Keep preaching.